So I will get out of the way and let Rupert come up here with Burn Game Ventures, so please give him a round of applause.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Rupert Meghnot from Burn Game Ventures, where we incubate game ideas from zero to sales in 6 months or less. Who here plays video games? Come on, don't be shy. 59% of you do. Okay. When was the last time you heard of a movie doing over $1 billion at the game at the box office? In fact, the video game industry is larger than the worldwide film and TV industry. And it's growing, this recession-proof industry is growing at a robust 8 to 12% a year in and year out. So you might ask yourself, what's the problem? Well, it's a massive industry, robust growth. Well, the large majority of the people that are developing and releasing these games are what we call indie gamers. The problem is that they have a 95% failure rate. And you might ask yourself, well, $50 billion worth of growth in the next 4 years, where the hell is it going to come from if the majority of the industry is failing? And then I have to ask myself, well, why are they failing? Well, just like I was before I started my first business, they just don't know how to make a business out of their idea. They're focused on making games they want to sell, not necessarily games that people want to buy. And they don't plan, so their scope, schedule, and marketing go out the window. And so our solution is really simple. It's providing them all the people and talent, all the resources, all the proprietary processes, and yes, motivation that they need in order to create quality games that sell. So when we look at our target market, the talent and our clients are exactly the same market. The only difference is our clients want to start their own business. And they're basically students, new entrepreneurs, what we call prolific and non-prolific indies. And why would they come to us instead of anybody else? Well, because we provide them exactly what they need, plus they get to keep their intellectual property and total creative freedom over their projects. Regarding our talent pool, right now we have a global talent pool. We have 300 plus people in our current core talent pool. We have another 2,500 in our extended network. And we also have a global client pool of over 23,000 people a year. And now when you take these two things and you combine them with our virtual startup operations for each of our offices, I could have 5 offices in 5 years. We could have 25 offices in 5 years. We're about as scalable as you can possibly make a business. Now, another core aspect of our business model is that we are all entrepreneurs. Nobody gets paid until the game ships or sells. And when you remove salaries from the equation, we've effectively cut the cost of making a video game by 75%. Throw in the additional, our proprietary processes and lean startup methodology, that cuts another 20% out of the project costs. So instead of $750,000 or more to make a video game, now we're spending $5,000 to $15,000 to make a video game. Can you imagine what that does to our ROI? Now, where does that ROI come from? Well, we get up to 50% of the net revenues of each game we help develop for up to 3 years. We also get up to 20% equity. And so, wait a minute, we've got multiple games, multiple platforms, multiple genres. We're like a mutual fund of video games. Okay. And the thing is I'm the only game company that I know of that doesn't need a hit to be successful. And people might say, well, oh, that's all fine and dandy, but what are you going to do for the community? What's in it for us? Well, the average salary or the compensation in the game industry is $93,000 a year. And for indie teams, it's just under $51,000. So if we're going to create 50 companies in the next 5 years, 20 people each, does 51 to 93 million in economic impact raise any interest? Okay. So the current status is that we've been doing this for 9 months full time. We have 132 game developers working for 10 startups, 7 of which we will have created. And we're working on 12 projects, and we've had 1 release so far. We have 3 more releases next month. And you might ask yourself, well, who's this old fart playing games? Well, I started my first business 35 years ago. I've helped hundreds of high-tech companies get started, and I taught cutting-edge project management at the master's degree level to aspiring game producers for more than 6 years, the former students of which are literally managing billions of dollars in game IP. I've also put together a stellar group of advisors, people who've worked on the biggest games of all time, StarCraft, Warcraft, Marvel, Star Trek, Alone in the Dark, Splinter Cell, and some of the top people in the virtual reality and video game industry as well, executives in the industry. So the reason I'm here and making the rounds is I'm saying, okay, well, we're looking for capital to continue our operations to get us to critical mass. But primarily, I'm looking for 4 C-level people to help us add value to our client partners and to manage our growth. And so that's basically why I'm here. So I'm in the fishbowl. I'm willing to take your questions. Yes.
So if you're providing your services free of charge, what exactly are you providing to them? And how are they going to know about you anyways?
Well, we're turning away business. We've been doing this 9 months, and I've already got 10 projects and 11 from 12 teams. What we're doing is, we're not having a problem getting the word out. But as far as your first part of your question was what?
You were saying it was all free of charge until the game turns a profit.
Right. So like I said, we're providing them. They come to us, and we provide them access to our talent pool. So now, if there's like 2 programmers and an artist, now they can go to our talent pool. Once they get accepted, they come in, and now they can get 4 more artists and a designer and a producer, and now they've got the manpower to create and the talent to create the game that they want. And then I provide them the proprietary processes, and they kick them in the pants to set up, make sure they plan it right, implement their plan, execute it, and keep them motivated and keep them.
But how do you afford to do that without money coming in?
I'm an investor.
Oh.
So
Yes.
that talent pool doesn't get paid a salary, they only get paid a slice of the pie if it ships?
Yes. When it ships and it sells, yes.
Who's doing the initial speculation on which projects to take?
Well, basically, what they have to pitch me on this.
Okay.
If I'm going to invest in them, then I need to know that they know, number one, how to explain their game simply and completely. Okay. Is it going to be fun? Is it unique? Is it original? Is it something that people we think will buy if we do it right? They have to show me a path to profitability. I mean, give me a budget, a bootstrap budget that says this is the materials and the licenses we need and so forth. And once they can do that, and then and they got 8 minutes to do it, as Einstein said, if you can't explain simply, you don't know it well enough. And so they give me the pitch, and if I like it, then I take it to my PMO, which are my other clients, and if they like it, then we bring it to them. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thanks.
Yes.
You said you don't need a hit. Well, why not? I mean, if the industry is hit-driven.
Well, the reason why we don't need a hit is because, like I said, we're like a mutual fund of video games. And so the average video game, like I use Steam as an example. Steam is the world's largest digital downloading platform. They have 135 million subscribers. And the average game on Steam, indie game on Steam, does 118,000 units a year. Now, the thing is the median, or the mean, is actually only 25,000. So it's obviously heavily weighted towards the top. So what I do is I say, well, wait a minute. All these medians and means and everybody else, they're not planning, they're not marketing, they're taking 3 years to develop their game and so forth, and they're still selling as many. So I'm saying, well, if we do it right, if we plan it right, if we use proper project management practices and human resources and communications and everything else and risk management, and we do all that properly, then we should be in the top 50%. So then I look at the top 50% of the market and go for the mean for that, and that's 56,000 units a year. So then so I set the target for all our projects to be the mean of the top 50% of the target market for indie games, and that's all we need to hit. If we do that, my clients are generating over 300 million in the next 5 years. Does that answer your question? Yeah.
Do you have a game type niche?
No, we're open. We're completely open. The first game that we released is called Bit Evolution, and it's a 2D retro platformer. Whoever played Atari? Game Boy, NES, SNES. This game is actually an evolution. You start out as a Pong puck, and then you go through an Atari world, and you evolve with the world through Game Boy, NES, and Super NES. And so it's like a history of video games, and it's on PC, Mac, and Linux now, and next month it's going to be on iOS and Android, and then before the end of the year on PlayStation and Xbox. And all our games are on multiple platforms. Yes?
So I spent like 15 years in the music industry working a lot with the major record companies, independent labels. I see this model being very similar to the independent record company.
Yep.
Because you're able to spend a whole lot less to create a project, and then you get enough projects out there, and they don't have to sell as much, and you actually make more money.
Right.
The problem is, and I wanted to find out where your perspective is on marketing the actual game, because at the end of the day, you can create the game for a very low cost, and how do you get it out there at a low enough cost to actually recoup? And
Anybody ever hear of PewDiePie? PewDiePie is the world's #1 YouTube personality. He has 47.5 million subscribers. And when he reviews your first game, you're not going to have too much problem getting it.
Social marketing.
So social marketing, yeah, we've got all that in place. We set up our own marketing company of people that specialize in marketing independent games. And yeah, it takes time. It takes about 6 months for a game to really generate traction, especially once you start getting it into all the platforms it needs to be on, because if you just release it on one platform, it's not going to do that great. But once you release it on multiple, then people who see it on the mobile will say, oh, is it on PC? If they see it on PC, is it on mobile? So that's how you build your traction. Does that answer your question? Okay, yes.
So how are you going to convince enough people to join your talent pool and put in their blood, sweat, and tears for free to develop a game that may make no money?
Okay, because I dabbled, I experimented with paying people, and it was a disaster. Okay, I basically of the 76% of the people that I paid were gone in 3 months. Okay, 78% of the people that I haven't paid have been with me for over a year. And the reason why is they're not driven by money. Okay. They dream of having a life and a career in the industry. And the biggest thing is they want to show their friends, that's my game. See, go to the credits at the end of the game, that's my name. That's what drives these people. Okay? And so what we're doing is we're providing them the opportunity to gain experience working on a professional or semi-professional team, developing a game, getting game titles under their belts. And if it doesn't work out for them, if they say, well, I just had a kid or got married or I need a paycheck, I'm developing relationships with EA and BioWare and Riot and those companies, and they're willing to pay us to recruit from us. So that's another revenue stream. So, yes.
So you just mentioned, so Electronic Arts is in this industry, right?
Yes.
And they have a presence in Orlando?
Yes, to your EA Sports.
Right. Is this in what ways is that helpful to you, and what ways is that not helpful to you?
Well, it's helpful, pretty much anything that brings game interest and investment to Orlando is good for everybody in the game industry in Orlando.
But you're not in Orlando?
Yes, I am.
Oh, you are?
Yes, I am. Sorry. So in any case, in fact, I met with Daryl Holt. Daryl Holt and I are, I don't know, friends, but we meet occasionally. And EA, like I said, I just mentioned, EA is keenly interested in the people that we can provide them. Because instead of recruiting directly out of the school, then, you know, they're green, they got the best tools and techniques, but they don't know how to work on a team and other things. They come to me and I teach them project management, business development, marketing and sales, and PR, finance and accounting, and all these other things. So after 6 months to a year they've been with us, you know, why pay 20% to a recruiter for somebody with 6 to 12 months experience that doesn't know all these things that my people do, when they can come to me and pay 0, 5, 10, 15%. So that's where the relationship builds, and plus we're also talking about developing funds and doing other things like that. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if I'm understanding this right, you have a group of investors and you have a talent pool, and the talent pool somehow is getting a piece of individual games or the collective revenue of all the games, or how does that work?
Well, we've gamified our project management processes, and so when our clients come in, they adopt those processes that keeps track of every individual's effort with regard to the game. And so when the money starts coming in for that game, then each person knows precisely how much they're going to make, at that point in time. And the group of investors, yeah, there's two. There's this one and there's this one. Okay, back pocket that is. Yes.
There's a game, a developers group in Tampa. Have you tapped them as a resource?
Not yet.
Big pool.
Not yet. Right now I'm working with a group in Orlando called Indianomicon, and I haven't, in fact I'm giving a presentation tomorrow night there. And I've been working with them. They've got about 1,300 people in their group, and the people who run it are really good friends of mine and everything. But yeah, there's
So they meet monthly and they have sponsors, so you can make that work out.
okay. I'd be interested in knowing who they are. Yes.
How do the programmers and your the subs and the programmers in that, how do they get assigned, or how do they select the game? So as a programmer, how do I end up with Super Mario 7 and not E.T.?
Well, first of all the games are equal in our eyes when they first come in the door, because we have pretty much a little bit to go on them. But it's the client that chooses the talent. Okay. The talent can sit there and the client has to pitch the team, the talent now. They have to pitch them the same way they pitch me, and what do you think? If they don't like it, they say no thanks, call me the next team comes around. Yes.
So on Kickstarter, some games have been getting funded, and I kind of wondering how you think maybe setting up a platform where you're able to have the designers pitching to the talent pool, and they can be selecting, and you can also have the public throwing money towards it to get developed quicker.
Well, crowdfunding for us is not that viable an option because we're more service-based than anything else. Each of our clients are going to be have plans for crowdfunding their games, of which BGV gets 10%. It's just that, but I like your idea about the talent pool pitching the teams for stuff. But honestly, we've got over 300 people in the talent pool. So whenever a new client comes aboard, they just go through the available people in the talent pool, they contact them and check their resumes and their bios and everything like that. And they interview them, they go through the recruitment process and so forth, just like anybody else does. Yes.
Now, what makes the game producers want to bring their games to you in lieu of another company? Is it comparable price-wise? I create a game, and how am I going to make sure that I'm getting the best monies in lieu of, I don't know who else takes these games?
Well, the two biggest options are basically doing it yourself or going through a publisher. Okay? If you do it yourself, for example, on Steam they have two programs. One's called Greenlight and the other one's called Early Access. Greenlight is you present your game to the Steam community and they vote for it, and you get greenlit, which in greenlit means, hey, now you're approved to sell your game. The people that are in greenlight, only 32% of the people that are in greenlight actually get greenlit. And those that get greenlit, it takes about 17 months to do so. Okay, our first game did it in a day less than 6 months. The second group is early access. Again, they go from greenlight to early access. Only 36% of those get released, and that takes 19 months. We did it in 19 weeks. So people will look at that and they say, well, geez, these guys are they're popping things, right? Instead of taking 3 years to make a game, we could be making money in 6 months. Not only that, but as I mentioned before, if you work for a publisher, they want to, 50% of the net revenues is a big chunk, but the thing is when they go to a publisher, they're lucky if they get 10% of the profits. And not only that, but they lose their intellectual property and a large part of their creative freedom. What I'm doing is I'm offering them the way to make the game they want to sell into the game that people want to buy.
Now, as far as the clientele that use these games, I really don't. However, do you pick certain age groups that would actually be interested in things like this to make them say, oh, I really love it or I really don't?
Yes. Every game, like I said, every game has to have its own target market. I don't know if we're going to do any mature games. I'm not getting into that, but we're going after specific target markets that each game is targeting. And again, we have different platforms. So the bid evolution on a mobile game is going to be different than the target market than the bid evolution on PC or Xbox or PlayStation. So my teams need to know all that stuff. We have them do a splash screen, a marketing splash screen, which is a detailed analysis of their market and target markets and the services they provide and everything else. And then we implement the strategies that we have. Does that answer your question? Okay. Yes.
I'd like to know if you are also going to enable to use bring some moral values into these games that are being made and some educational values. I like to see for gamers to do their game, but in addition to that, also make an educational game so that these young kids can learn something instead of, watching this Walking Dead crap, brainwashing sometimes.
Right.
And this is, I think, something that the game industry needs to do that, but of course, I know they're not into that.
Well, yes, that's a great question. Two things. First of all, only 3% of all games released each year are what we call mature games. Okay, with all the gore and the violence and all that other stuff. The vast majority are for everyone at any given play. Okay. Now, granted, the mature games, they're the ones who are generating 78% of the revenues in the industry, but it's a concern. We don't do that. Now, we're going to get involved in education. I've been an educator for 12 years, and we're going to get involved in education in a big way, mainly because I look at the U.S., we're 28th in the world in education. United States of America? And then when I look at the other 27, and I look for commonalities between them, and what they have, one of the things that they have that we don't have are games in the classroom. Now, right now, it's a $103 billion a year business. If we can get games in the classroom, we can easily be a $250 billion industry. And so we're already putting together ideas for educational games, and we're negotiating and talking to various educational institutions and so forth. But yeah, we'll definitely get into that. Yes.
Okay. Is it only games, or would you take other types of software products?
Actually, we're doing software and hardware. We have patents in next generation virtual reality and simulation hardware systems. And we're in the process now. One of the releases next month is going to be one of our virtual reality platforms, which is basically a VR suit that is untethered and you can walk around in, and it's fully field deployable, and it's multi-component and so forth. So we look at all kinds of things that could be gaming.
Or software related?
Yeah, we're software related. Okay. Yes.
Thank you for traveling to Orlando. I think it was a great presentation, very succinct.
Sure.
I have very great answers to a lot of the questions from the group. I like the comment on the indie record labels. I think that if you're not in the indie game space, and I'm not either, I don't understand that as well, but
sure.
I feel like people might have a better grasp on, like, hey, indie record labels took advantage of it this way and had this result. The game market's even bigger, and nobody's focusing on that much. You could incorporate. But then my question is, whenever you news about games and indie games, it's always that they're delayed 6 months, they're delayed a year, they don't ship, they don't ship, they don't ship. Whereas if you're on an indie label, you have to press your album by a certain date and go on the store. So how do you say, hey, free creative control, but how do your processes make sure that that the game ships? Because that seems like a big risk area for taking on a lot of projects.
Okay, well, if I understand your question correctly, the biggest problem, the biggest thing is controlling scope. Okay, because making a game you want to sell and a game people want to buy are two entirely different things. And the biggest thing is scope. Okay, we got a game right now that's a 2-year effort, and the reason why it's a 2-year effort is because it's massive in scope. I mean, it'll be a AAA title when it comes out. I mean, it's going to be a $30 game when it comes out. It's deep. There's 240 pages of story or lore behind the game. It's just a first person. I mean, it's going to be epic when it comes out. But on the other hand, we have other games that we're doing that are 2-month projects, and we're pounding off left and right. The thing is again, our process is basically our good project management, which means 20% of the project schedule and upfront is planning. They start working on the game? No. 20% of the schedule, get the plan done. Understand your game, plan it out, document it, set up your team, get your capacity plan, your work breakdown structure, all these other things figured out. And by the end of that first month, you typically in a 6-month project, they got all the planning they need. And then in the second month, they start working on the game. And then now the plan is done, it's a lot easier to hold their feet to the fire and say, hey, this is coming up in 2 weeks, you're going to be ready. And if they're not, then they understand because of our policies and procedures that things need to get cut, right? Because good is, or perfect is the enemy of good. And so what we want to do is we can always come up with a patch. We can always re-release the game. We can always come up with version 2.0. We need to get the game out there. We need to at least get the vertical slice of the game out there as quickly as possible to generate revenues and feedback so that we can always keep improving the game and keep moving forward. So that's how we stay on schedule. Yes?
How is the game producer protected? How would they be protected that someone wouldn't watch the game? And is there a protection on your end, or they have to do their own?
We have, first of all, we have ironclad non-disclosure agreements that everybody signs with BGV, and the clients sometimes have their own as well. And then we have work-for-hire agreements with everybody that has strong confidentiality as well as IP protection in there as well. Yes?
So how can this community here in St. Pete help you grow this business in Spain?
Well, how can you can help? Well, right now, first of all, you can support our games. You can go to Steam online, steam.com, and you can look up Bit Evolution. It's only $9.99 for endless amusement, right? And so you can go get our game. You can introduce us to people who are interested in disruptive business models for digital media technologies. And you can, if you know anybody, son, grandson, cousin, friend, anybody else that loves games, who's a programmer or an artist or anything like that, by all means, send them to us. That's good.
So that was a great example of a company that has come over from Orlando, has been involved in Million Cups in Orlando, and is using the Passport Network. So if you or anyone you know is looking to get out and present your ideas, not just here in St. Pete, but all across 76 communities in the United States, we can set that up, we can facilitate that for you. Just go to 1millioncups.com/St. Pete, request to present on there. One of us, the organizers, will contact you.